We are rolling from Virtual Watkins Glen. Andrew Wisdom leading the procession through turn number one with Austin Reedy to his outside. It's an all Chevrolet front row. Tristan Bailey starting in the second row behind the Porsche 911 next to Nick Gowan in the Buddy Baker throwback, that number 88. Nationwide Camaro, a pair of 88s. Nick Gowan in the Buddy Baker throwback 88 next to Tristan Bailey in the number 88 Buddy Baker throwback, Gowan rocking the John Andretti throwback there. In the number 10, Kyle M. Benson rocking the Screamin' Italian Pizza. Eat my crust is what the back end of that race car says. Tom Harmon in an awesome looking matte and reflective kind of metallic purple fuchsia, if you will, for the Scissor Racing team that he's got going on. Nick Pressey into the I Heart New York number 94 Estes Ford Mustang, starting next to Matt Chaffee in the 00 Smithfield Ford, headed, well, through rather than into the bus stop. Adam Rowe in the number 84 Team Realtree car, getting into position. The Canadian starting next to Jamie Haynes in the number 53 Filter Time Chevrolet. Mo Burnett, North Carolina's Mo Burnett, rocking the number 28 Dale Earnhardt livery. I'm sorry, that's Jorge Rincon in the 8 car. Mo Burnett is in the number 8 Roland machine. That's my mistake. Rocking next to Josh Hale in the number 20 Yoo-Hoo Ford Mustang. Bud Scherer, another one of 2 Canadians featured in today's race, sitting in the number 93 Chevrolet. Jose Ruiz in the 23, Chris Fathke in the 27. Bringing up the rear of this field, back to Drew Wisdom at the front of this race. DW next to AR at the front. Austin Reedy in the TJ's Team Chevrolet trying to get a good run on Wisdom out of the final corner. Let's turn these cars loose. 40 laps of action from the Glen. Green flag is out. Let's go racing. Austin Reedy, who started second, has gone around in the bus stop. The race will stay green. Don't expect any cautions tonight. That's going to leave Drew Wisdom at the front of this race. He's got Nick Gowan behind him in the number 88 John Andretti throwback RCA Chevrolet. Kyle M. Benson in the Screamin' Sicilian number 10 Ford Mustang brings up the podium. Tristan Bailey in the number 88 Buddy Baker throwback, sitting fourth ahead of Nick Pressey, who's got Tom Harmon all up his backside, headed into one. White Walker 86 says, "What's up? It's Swats. Thanks so much for stepping in tonight. Have a great show." He says he's got 4 hours left on his trip to Pennsylvania, so he'll be viewing all the race. Swats, glad to have you here, pal. Thank you so much for stepping up, stepping in. Tell you what, shoot me a DM if you got a minute to talk, man. Great racing so far. We're only 5 rounds into this race. Drew Wisdom in the number 51, climbing the rumble strips, the curbs, if you will, headed into the bus stop. He's got a 3/4 of a second lead ahead of Andrew Wisdom. Ahead of Nick Gowan in the 88 car. If you've just recently joined us, I'm Rick James, bringing you uninterrupted green flag action of the PSES Xfinity Series, brought to you by the good folks over at di9 Designs. So far, a couple of DNFs in Sean Burke and Ryan Smith. Swats says he's available all night till about 1 a.m. when he gets to his hometown. Yeah, buddy, we'll get you in here in just a few laps when some of this action settles down. Tom Harmon all over the back end of Nick Pressey. Let's ride along with the 4 car of Tom Harmon and see just how he attacks Watkins Glen. Talk about a difficult track. Talk about a hard way to get around this racetrack. The 4-car of Tom Harmon still behind New York's Nick Pressey. Bit of a homecoming for the driver of the 94. Trouble for car 84, Adam Rowe, slow and struggling to keep that car in a straight line down the back straight. He gets overtaken by Matthew Chaffee in the 00. Now looking back from Adam Rowe, he's got Jamie Haynes up his back bumper. Rowe trying to defend the 8th position from Haynes. Meanwhile, Tristan Bailey now with a mirror full of Nick Pressey. Bailey has gotten up to the 4th position. Pressey right behind him with his own pressure from Tom Harmon in 6th. Back to the 9th position. Jamie Haynes, he's within half a second of Adam Rowe and pressing for the advantage there. In 15th, Josh Hale in the number 20. Yoo-Hoo Ford just ahead of Jose Ruiz. Ruiz in the number 23. Square D Chevrolet trying to hold off Chucky Moe. Chuck Mosley Jr. rocking the blue and yellow Navy colors in the number 89. Down the back straight, Mo Burnett sitting in the 18th position. Chris Fathke sitting 19th, about to go 1 lap down, and then Sean Burke 6 laps down. Been kind of a rough start for car 223, but everybody finally making their way. That's Nick Gowan in car 88 who gets under the 223. Gowan sits in the 2nd position right now, 0.3 of a second ahead of Kyle Benson, 2 seconds behind Andrew Wisdom. Josh Hale had an incident in the number 20 Yoo-Hoo Ford. Let's have a look. Oh, out of the carousel, he just loses it by himself, but he manages to keep the car from hitting the wall. Heads-up driving by Josh Hale. Back at the front, Drew Wisdom leading by 1.9 seconds into the bus stop. 6.5 laps underway from virtual Watkins Glen. Again, if you've recently joined us, I'm Rick James bringing you uninterrupted green flag coverage. Let's go on and take a look at the lead so far. 2 seconds from first to second, 0.3 there, and it gets tighter as we go on back. Joel Conley having a big crash. Kool-Aid going up against it. Let's have a look. Keep your eye on the 62. Coming to a halt into the bus stop and then just seemingly jumping to pit road, and it looks like Conley is being scored out of this race. Nick Gowan still in second. Kool-Aid Conley is indeed off the track, and he is out of this race. Not the start that he wanted. It's going to hurt him in the points. Speaking about the points coming into this race, Jamie Haynes leading by almost 100 digits, 5 rounds into this race. Haynes currently running in the 9th position in the number 53 Filter Time Chevrolet. Right around 90 points ahead of Jose Ruiz in the number 23 Square D Chevy. Having a rough go of it. Ruiz right now being scored in 14th. And then Ed Shearer not present in tonight's race. It's going to be a big shakeup in the points looking through the rest of the season. But for now, Drew Wisdom absolutely taking it to this field. Up the S's. It is not an easy climb up that racetrack. Jamie Haynes in the 53, all over the back end of Adam Rowe. Where will this battle end up? Down the back straight, car 53, all over the back end of the 84. Josh Hale having another incident in the 20. He's gone off track yet again. Sean Burke following suit in car 223, going right through. Chris Fathke goes off track again out of turn number 10. That looks like Nick Gowan trying to go around in the 88, and it is having to go the hard way around. 9 laps underway at Watkins Glen, and Fathke, after just leaving pit road, will once again rejoin his teammates in the stall. Bud Shearer, however, just getting around Gary Bingaman. That for the 11th spot. Sean Burke having another incident in the 223 right before the final corner. Being overtaken by Bud Shearer and Gary Bingaman, the 93 and the 72. Talking about Gary Bingaman, let's take a look at this paint scheme right here. The number 72 Altel Chevrolet. And students of NASCAR and NASCAR history will definitely recognize that is the paint scheme of 7-time Jimmy Johnson, who had one of the all-time spectacular race car crashes when the brakes failed going into turn 1 and he went head first into the styrofoam and guardrail padding that was the end of turn number 1 triumphantly. Jimmy Johnson climbs out of the race car, stands on the roof with 2 fists in the air like a superhero, and would go on to win 7 NASCAR Cup championships. And Gary Bingaman throwing it back to 7-time. Ruiz, however, making his way up through the field. He's up to lucky number 13th position after he just got around Jorge Rincon in the number 28 Good Wrench Chevrolet. These two nose to tail 13th and 14th respectively. Tristan Bailey, he wants a piece of the action. Tom Harmon has managed to get around Brooklyn's Nick Pressey, but now Bailey is next on Harmon's list. Only half a second between them. Jamie Haynes also making headway, getting around Adam Rowe for the spot. That's going to put Haynes up into 8th. The Canadians down to 9th. Matthew Chaffee now up against it. He's got a mirror full of filter time Haynes. Through the carousel now. Swats, if you're in here, buddy, let's get you in. Want to ask you about this incredible season so far. Hey, you're already here?
Yeah, I'm here.
My buddy, you my man. Ladies and gentlemen, the man whose seat I'm trying to fill, Kurt Swats. What's going on, pal? You're traveling right now. Thanks for coming in, buddy. I appreciate you.
Oh, no problem. Resist watching the PSES Xfinity cars run around Watkins Glen. It's one of my favorite tracks. So
Haynes is in the wall.
I'm sad that I had to miss it tonight, but no better. Ooh.
Jamie Haynes gets in the wall in the number 53 filter time. He's lost the hood. Haynes, who was running 10th right now, comes into this race with a points lead of 90, almost 90 plus. I think it looks like a 92 point gap at the front, and the points leader into the guardrail outside of turn number 1. Kurt, let's go back and have a look. Out of turn 1, Haynes in the filter time car just by himself, right into the barrier, losing the hood on it. We'll have one more look, and let's see if we can ride around from the cockpit. Well, this is out of the carousel now. Let's advance this. Have a listen. And it just sounds like there was too much gas, Kurt. I don't know about you, but the leader, Jamie Haynes, now up against it, sitting in 10th with the Canadian Bud Shearer looking to overtake the American pilot. I tell you what, week 5 out of 11, right before the week off, this could be the worst time and could be a tipping point in the championship, Kurt.
Yeah, I think Haynes just maybe got into the gas a little too early, carried a little bit too much speed through there. That track compared to Xfinity, you just can't carry the momentum and the speed through there without it getting loose. So, yeah, it'll be a bad time to have a bad race before the off week, but at least you're off next week and you can practice for the next race. So.
Adam Rowe in the 84 briefly going off track. The Canadian in trouble again. Matt Chaffee now up his tailpipe. Half a second and closing. Out of the carousel, headed down the chute into the penultimate corner. Chaffee has Rowe's number. Now the Smithfield Ford to the inside of the Realtree Chevrolet, and he can't pull it off. Through 10, through 11, Chaffee will have a run, and Kurt, is the front straight one of the best places to set up for a pass? Where do you like passing at Watkins Glen?
That first corner and the last 2 turns, if you can set it up coming out of the last turn 7 to go down that front stretch, you can get a good run off of there if you shift down to maybe second gear. So really those 2 spots, and then I guess coming out of the S's, if you can carry the momentum through the S's, that's the only other spot I can think of. Carousel is too hard. If you carry too much speed, you get too loose.
Chris Fathke just had a moment. He just fell off the racetrack, running 18th in points out of turn 10 through 11. Fathke slow in the number 27. Now, back on the racetrack, he won't take this opportunity to come down pit road. He's back up to speed. Sean Burke making his way through the field. The number 223 RBS AutoZone Chevy running 17th off the track in 1 again. Fathke looking to take the position. Not one of our closest battles, however. That still belongs to Adam Rowe, brilliantly holding off the American behind him, Matt Chaffee. Kurt, coming into this race, the name on everybody's lips was Andrew Wisdom, who's leading this race by 4.5 seconds. If it's not Wisdom, who's got the best shot to win this race?
I mean, I would say it's probably a toss-up between the 2 biggest contenders all season, which is Bailey and Godwin. But I wouldn't count out Reedy. I wouldn't count out Chaff, however you say that name. Those 4 are probably the other 4 that I would say best have a shot against Wisdom tonight.
Adam Rowe now really in trouble, riding along from the gearbox. He's got Matt Chaffee all up his backside.
Speaking of Wisdom coming down, it's kind of a ringer for having Wisdom come down because he's just so good. When he comes down, he pretty much dominates. He came down a couple weekends ago, or a couple week races ago, and really gave Bailey and Godwin a real big run for their money. Kind of showed them that he's the top in the Cup Series.
Gave him a run, he did, but now the 11 of Austin Reedy in the TJ's team Chevy trying to make his way around. Clever passing by Reedy on the 00. Chaffee focused on Rowe, and Reedy took him when he wasn't looking. Let's have a look at that pass. Just undercuts him, headed into the bus stop, pulls it off, clinical. And Kurt, that's got to be one of the hardest passes to make, is on the inside of the carousel coming out of the bus stop.
Yeah, because if you get, like I said earlier, if you get into the gas too early, the rear end wants to come around, and if it does stick, it wants to pull you to the other side of the track when you come out of the carousel. And if there's a car there that's carrying the momentum through the carousel, it's a tight squeeze.
You ever been to Watkins Glen yourself, Kurt?
No, it's on my bucket list. There's a couple road courses that are on my bucket list, but Watkins Glen is definitely one of my favorites to watch on TV.
I was talking to a couple of the boys from the OG Racing League, and they said that the party at Watkins Glen is even bigger than the parties at Talladega, and those are some legendary get-togethers. So it, for me as well, that definitely became a bucket list race today, so it's something I definitely have to go check out. 25 to go now as Andrew Wisdom crosses the line. It's kind of been Wisdom's race But, you know, there's still so much opportunity, so much race here. We're not even halfway, Kurt. The complacency is one thing that can really get in a driver's way. If Wisdom loses focus for just a second, Nick Pressey briefly going off track, if Wisdom loses focus, Kurt, it could be catastrophic. He could not get it back.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that I would think that Wisdom would be the type of driver to lose focus. I've watched him come from the very back. Actually, just a few weeks ago in your MX-5 race that we did, he didn't even practice or qualify. Started dead last and won by, I think it was like 3 or 4 seconds. He passed the entire field in the MX-5 road course race for the thing that you put on, the event that you put on. So he's not somebody that I would count on losing focus and, you know, having those kind of mistakes. He's pretty set and steady when he gets on track.
Looking at Kyle Benson now behind him, I agree 100%. We were watching the ARC's Corvette Parts.net Mazda Challenge, and it just blew my mind, not only because I'd never seen Wisdom race before on a road course. It blew my mind not only how efficient Andrew Wisdom was on the racetrack, but the way he just ran down Mark Thomas, who's also one of the fastest road course racers I've ever seen, especially if you've ever seen him drive in OG. It's just brilliant. But we're looking at an incredible talent, not just on road courses, but that really is his bread and butter.
Yeah, I never thought I had a chance once I saw Mark Thomas was in the race, and then a few others that were in the race. I mean, I brought home 10th. I was pretty happy and pretty proud of that one. But once I saw Wisdom joined right at the start of the race, and he started right behind me because I didn't qualify, I knew I was going to be in even deeper trouble. And he blew the doors off in I think half a lap, and then he just continued to go right through the field. And I don't know how he caught Mark so fast and then pulled away from him. I never thought that was possible with Mark in the field.
Because he's amazing.
Yeah. Well, he's proving it tonight.
He is proving it tonight. I mean, so much so that we don't need to illustrate that he's got a 5.8 second lead. Meanwhile, the fight between Nick Gowan and Kyle Benson, much more interesting between these two. You can see for 4 out of the last 5 laps, Kyle Benson has been quicker than Nick Gowan, but not able to close that gap. Chris Fathke says, I hate road courses. Apparently they don't like you either, Chris, because it was nothing but pit road for the first half of that race. Sorry to see Chris Fathke go, but definitely a valiant effort nonetheless. Now, Kurt, we're seeing Kyle Benson, who's kind of just, I won't say that he's got Nick Gowan on the fishing line, but he's not really making any massive progress towards running him down. Do you think he's in conservation mode? You know Benson better than I do.
I would probably say Benson and Gay might be considering the part to try to save fuel. I don't know when they'd be going for green flag stops, but it would probably be, I would think, in the next few laps.
According to the race facts brought to us by di9 Designs, the 2.5-mile road course will exhibit a pit window of between 15 and 25 laps. That pit window just opened. Won't imagine drivers have to use much out of their 6 sets of tires provided to them today, including practice, qualifying, all of that. So we should be okay, but 40 laps, right around 100 miles if my math is correct, which it probably isn't because I never double check. But we'll see some green flag pit stops coming in sooner rather than later. Tom Harmon now coming up behind Tristan Bailey in the number 88 Buddy Baker throwback. Kurt, what do you know about Tom Harmon, besides the fact that he's driving arguably the best-looking race car today?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely one of the best libraries I've seen in a while in the Xfinity cars. There's a handful of them that are pretty near and dear to my heart based on old drivers I've watched or even Days of Thunder or things like that. But Harmon is usually pretty consistent. I really haven't seen him up towards the top 3 in a lot of the races, but he's a pretty consistent, steady top 10 guy that should be there at the end.
currently closing in on Tristan Bailey. 1.2 seconds the gap between them. Bailey now trying to get around the 223 car, and does so. That 223, Sean Burke, currently being scored 4 laps down, but still soldiering on in the 17th position. Matt Chaffee now getting around the 11 of Austin Reedy, who's decided to come down pit road, and it's going to be tires and fuel for the number 11, TJ's team Chevrolet, overtaking the unmovable car of Chris Fathke, DNFing, unfortunately. Coming to 20 laps to go, and Andrew Wisdom exhibiting a 6, almost 7-second lead over his rival in the John Andretti RCA throwback, the 88 of Nick Gowan. But Benson has closed that gap, Kurt. He's within 4/10.
Yeah, I wouldn't count Benson out, but like I said before, unless Wisdom really, really has a horrible night, which I don't see him making that kind of mistake, but I mean, it is possible. But I think this is really just a race for second and third and fourth. I think Wisdom probably has this in the bag, unless he, like I said, severely nicked. That would probably
Absolutely love the sound of those race cars just flying up the S's. For me, road course racing has to be just some of the most exciting racing that you can see. Jose Ruiz finally closing up the gap, and here's an exciting move. He's all over Bud Shearer going down this front straight. Have a listen to the 93, and Jose Ruiz is coming down pit road. So that's going to be the end of that battle there. Bud Shearer still out on pit road. He's going to join the top 7 running order. Jorge Rincon in the number 28 Goodwrench Chevrolet, making it up to the 8th position. Gary Bingaman throwing it back to 7 time in the number 72 Alltel Chevrolet, rounding out the top 10. Chuck Mosley Jr., now bringing his number 89 Chevy Camaro down pit road, currently being scored in the 15th position. Benson all over the back end of Gowan. Let's have a ride with Nick Gowan and listen to this battle for second. I absolutely love those onboard cameras. I will watch them all day. iRacing or not, that's just cool. I love listening to these cars.
Yeah, the onboard is really nice, especially if you're kind of a novice or amateur at road course racing. So sitting and watching some of these drivers that just have it down packed is really nice to watch them, see where they're letting off, where their turning points are, braking points, all that kind of stuff. You can learn a lot by watching some of these guys who are just really fast.
I've learned a lot myself. I'll admit to that, Kurt. I have learned a great deal, not only about how the drivers race these cars, but just the dexterity and focus that it takes to be successful in these cars. And myself, I have the driving ability of a bag of potatoes, so I'm not that great when it comes to racing. However, one thing that I love to do is take the racetrack with a slower vehicle. For example, I love the MX-5s. I'm decent at the MX-5s. So for example, if I want to learn the Glen, I'll take it around in slow cars. Let's say, 4-cylinder cars. Work my way up to, let's say, a Formula car. And by the time you've got the track down in the Formula car, take it down to an Xfinity car, and you know it like the back of your hand.
Yeah, that's correct. It's a good way to do it. I absolutely love the MX-5s as well. Probably second is probably Xfinity. I don't know what it is, but the Xfinity car just handles a lot better to me. So, I mean, those two sets for sure are the ones that I would practice road courses with. That would definitely is a good idea to do that way.
You see the 88 of Nick Gowan coming down pit road. It's his time for tires and fuel. Drew Wisdom also coming down pit road. DW comes to a halt, and for the first time today, we have a new leader in the number 10 car. The Ford Mustang of Kyle Benson has a 14-second advantage over Tristan Bailey in the number 88 Buddy Baker throwback. Now, is that a Buddy Baker throwback, Kurt? The 28 Napa car. I could be dead wrong.
The 28 of Bailey? Which one are you talking about?
The 88 of Tristan Bailey. Yeah, it for me it looks like
That's the silver bullet for Earnhardt.
Yeah, for me that is I instantly see the number 28 Napa car that Buddy Baker drove to fame. I was giving him some stick about it earlier, saying it was a great Buddy Baker throwback. So I'm really just poking the bear at this point.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a paint scheme done by Mike's Paint Design. I'm pretty sure it's a throwback to Earnhardt, the silver and black that he ran.
Yeah, and that paint scheme itself was indeed a throwback to Buddy Baker in the 28 when he drove that Napa car. One of those great Darlington weekends I remember.
Correct. The original throwback, yes, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm just fanning the flames at this point. It's going to be a wildfire in a second. But Andrew Wisdom retakes the lead in the number 51 Valvoline Chevrolet with 16 circuits remaining in the Finger Lakes. Nick Gowan back to the second position in the number 88 RCA, but here comes Kyle Benson, and Gowan will beat him on the pit road delta, as you were, gentlemen. Nick Gowan in second, Kyle Benson in third, Tommy Harmon in the fourth position, and Tris Bailey rounding out the top 10 at the top 5 as Tristan leaves pit road in the 88.
Gowan came in a couple laps before Benson for tires, so I wouldn't be shocked to see Benson come out of here and be able to run a little harder than, say, Gowan. He's only a second, or barely half a second behind him right now. So I don't know if Gowan will stand a chance against Benson as much as Benson was catching him before they pitted.
0.6 of a second, the gap between these two drivers headed into the final two turns. Left, right to complete this lap at Watkins Glen. 15 laps to go with the 2.5-mile circuit. Kyle Benson in the third position, chasing down Nick Gowan. And Kurt, if I'm Benson, I'm thinking I have a 2-lap advantage over Gowan. I don't need to press the situation because there's a 13-second gap back to Tom Harmon in the fourth position. Just keep the pressure on Gowan.
Yeah, I would keep the pressure on Gowan. He's only, they're 10 seconds behind Wisdom, so unless Wisdom, has a complete engine failure somehow, they're pretty much just battling for the win in second place is what I would call their win. So I would just keep the pressure on Gowan and hope that his tires fail him after a few laps, and you can really get him to spread out wide and then take it below him and do the short track on it in turn 1 or going through the S's maybe. I don't know if I would do it in the bus stop though.
High risk, high reward. It would be a great place to make the pass, but you could end up taking out not only you, but your opponent. Kyle Benson within a second and a half to Nick Gowan. Tom Harmon, 12.5 seconds behind with Tristan Bailey, 3 seconds adrift of that. Jamie Haynes, the points leader, sitting 9th right now, almost on the tail end of the lead lap, 7 1/3 seconds ahead of Adam Rowe, but now chasing down Matthew Chafee in the 00 Smithfield Ford. The points leader, Kurt, is trying to make a comeback.
Yeah, for him to be sitting 9th after having that big incident hit the wall, doesn't even have a hood on his car right now. So I would say it's a pretty good deal for him to be still in the top 10. It's not a great points night, but it's at least not a huge deficit in points night.
Damage control, as it were, once again coming into this race with what I believe looks like a 92-point lead over Jose Ruiz. Also up against it, Ruiz currently running 15th. out of 21 cars tonight. Adam Rose crashed. The number 84 Team Realtree Chevrolet up against the wall, coming to 14 laps to go. He sits in 10th on the tail end of the lead lap. Leader Andrew Wisdom now coming off the final corner. This could be the end of Adam Rowe's lead lap fight. No way he'll hang on. Lucky number 13 laps to go for Wisdom. Rowe now needs to give it everything. His rival and fellow Canadian Bud Shearer right behind him. Half a second between these two, and it's the fight to stay on the lead lap, Kurt.
Yeah, I don't how long or how far behind did you say that Wisdom was? Is that him?
Wisdom can see him. Yeah,
him?
That's him, yeah. Man. That's it. Look at these two Canadian on Canadian action. They touch into the bus stop. There's the 84 of Rowe right up Bud Shearer. And from Newfoundland all the way to BC and back, you could see they were going to make contact. The Canadian Tire Chevrolet of Bud Shearer now rolling with the leader hot on his heels. Adam Rowe just ahead. Will he get him back into one? They're running 10th, 11th, and 1st. Here comes Shearer in the 93 to the inside of Rowe, side by side. He can't pull off the pass. And the leader, Andrew Wisdom, now all up the back end to the inside of Bud Shearer, and Shearer goes a lap down. It's a dozen laps to go, Kurt.
I think Wisdom was trying to wait for just a spot there, but I mean, he's 11 seconds, almost 12 seconds out in front of the next car. I don't know if I would have maybe tried to push those issues. I would have probably stayed back and just let them figure it out. But, I mean, he made it through, so now he's just got to worry about them fighting behind him.
11 laps to go, this time by the newly lapped Bud Shearer. Ahead of his Canadian compatriot, Adam Rowe, running 10th and 11th, respectively. Jorge Rincon, 5 seconds behind them. Jose Ruiz, second in points, making his way up to the 14th position. Ruiz only sitting 5 points ahead of Ed Shearer, not here though, so the points are going to take a big shakeup as a lot of drivers won't be present for the remainder of the season. Looking all the way down to Sean Burke, running 6th in points, currently sitting 17th. Not only are the points going to be shaken up by an absence of drivers, Kurt, they're absolutely going to be turned upside down by much of the top 10 crashing today.
Yeah, I think coming out of here, like you said, damage control for Haynes. He's got a big enough lead in the points that as long as he doesn't have, multiple terrible races, he should be able to just stay, in the top 10 and coast to a good championship win. But Jose could make up a lot of points if Haynes does struggle a little bit. The rest of the field obviously is going to be missing. Ed's been missing a bunch. But Tristan's back there, and I think he's 7th or 6th in points. And he's been really on a roll the last several races. So I don't think he could catch the top 2, but he might be able to get to 3rd.
Over the last 5 laps, points leader Jamie Haynes has been quicker than Matt Chaffee. 3 out of the last 5. This time across, the 00 takes the line, the 53 takes the line on lap 29. Chaffee slower than Jamie Haynes, so the points leader getting closer to that 00, and then it's another 7 seconds ahead to Austin Reedy. Haynes must play his cards right. Adam Rowe, Bud Shearer came together again. These two making more contact. Let's see what happened between Adam Rowe and Bud Shearer. Oh, they're already in trouble here. They both just launched it into turn 10, and there was no contact. They both just sent it into the penultimate corner.
Yeah, these two are fighting like it's the last lap for first place, which is nice to see, even in the middle of the field, that they're, that competitive for position.
That's just the fighting spirit. You're looking at two hockey players driving race cars. It doesn't get any more aggressive than this.
Yeah, and the best thing is if you could see him get out of the cars at the end of the race and drop gloves.
as is tradition. I actually believe that's a traditional greeting in Northern Canada. You actually have to take off your hockey gloves and punch somebody in the chest.
I thought it was the greeting of smiling and counting each other's teeth that are left.
Is that what it is? Because
I don't know. I got a couple buddies that are Canadian. They play hockey, and there's a few that are missing some teeth from hockey fights.
Hecklix says, I want to see a helmet throw. I tell you what, the way these two Canadians have been going hammer and tongs, you're going to see some helmet throws. Chucky Moe having an issue here. Chuck Mosley Jr. in the number 89 Navy car going off the racetrack. Moe really up against it. Look at him climb those curbs flying off the track there. Bud Shearer and Adam Rowe up against it again as Chucky Moe this time crashes out of the carousel. And Chuck Mosley Jr. now motionless on the racetrack. There's Adam Rowe holding up traffic behind him. That's Nick Gowan and Kyle Benson separated by 3/10. We've seen this before, Kurt. Adam Rowe fighting hard, but giving a bit of trouble to second and third.
Yeah, I think at this point, if you're a lap down on a road course, if it's a lead lap car, you should be able to use the push to talk or call it out some way in Discord by saying, lead lap car coming through. Even though those two are fighting for position, it depends on a respect factor, I guess. Some drivers don't have it, some drivers do. As long as you call it out, most of the
Points
time
leader has
they'll move out of the
crashed.
way.
Kurt, I'm so sorry to cut you off. Jamie Haynes, again, the exact scenario that we were saying could not afford to happen has happened. Let's go have a look. The replay brought to you by di9 Designs. Headed into turn number 1, hoodless and coming in extremely hot. What has happened now to the points lead? Oh, and sorry, Kurt, go ahead.
It looked like he just wheel hopped it and slid right through the turn.
That's it.
And then when he tried to get into the gas, it just spun the tires around on him.
Jamie Haynes, luckily, has a massive cushion right now, running 9th behind Brooklyn's Nick Pressey, Bud Shearer, and Adam Rowe, 10th and 11th, respectively, 25 seconds adrift of the points leader. And I guess damage control is the theme of the evening because Jamie Haynes can't afford many more mistakes like that one. Bud Shearer now just 1 second ahead of Adam Rowe, and here comes the Canadians again, Kurt. Ding, ding, baby, round 3.
Yeah, I think these two might be fighting after the race. We might see some after-race action with these two. As hard as they've been battling each other, like I said, it's like they're battling for first place on the last lap. They just keep going at each other and going at each other, and luckily nobody's wrecked out of it.
Looking at the battle between second and third, Nick Gowan ahead of Kyle Benson by 3/10. Now looking at Tom Harmon, who's just gotten around Tristan Bailey in the number 88 Buddy Baker throwback. Out of the final corner, Harmon ahead of Bailey. That's 4th and 5th respectively. Let's have a look at that pass. No, he's already gotten around him quite quickly, so it must have happened a while ago. Never mind then. Harmon going wide out of 1. Here comes Bailey up again. And Kurt, as the race is winding down, we're getting closer and closer, man. There's a lot of battles happening. And you could argue that this is probably some of the most dangerous racing there is because drivers are getting desperate. And there goes the 88. Tristan Bailey crashes in the 5th position. Reedy, who's in the 6th position behind him, coming up fast and thick. What happened to Bailey? Let's have a look.
There's a bump coming out of those S's that if you hit the gas just early enough, and the tires will spin on that bump when it hits it, and that's what it looks like. It looks like his back end got just a little loose. He tried to correct it, and when he did, it just snapped it around on him.
I saw he made contact with the rumble strip. I think we're both right on that. Have a look here. Take a look at those left side. Oh, you know what? There it is. We're both correct in that assumption. He does bump. You can see the car dip, and that dip coming out of the S's puts the left side tires on the rumble strips. Lost control at that point, but Bailey regains control of his race car, but not without trouble. He's got Austin Reedy just a 1/4 of a second behind him headed into the first corner.
road courses are kind of funny like that. You can make a spin and make a bad move and still not lose a position. We watched Jamie Haynes earlier spinning coming out of turn 1, and he didn't lose position. So as long as you don't damage the car too much and start smoking it and then have to go to pits, you can continue. So Haynes needs to just do damage control and just ride it out.
5 laps to go, this time by Jamie Haynes in the 53 car, sitting 25 seconds ahead of Bud Scherer, still 7 seconds behind Brooklyn's Nick Pressey, running in the 8th position. The Canadians are at it again, Kurt. This time it's Adam Rowe trying to get back up to Bud Scherer. There's only half a second between them with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here on the last lap. We've seen them battling hard for the last 10, 15 laps with each other. If it comes down to the last lap, I wonder who's going to have the last bump going into the corner.
They are natural-born fighters and swimmers. I don't know if you know this, Kurt, but up in Saskatchewan, Canadians are not born. They're actually formed out of holes in ice fishing lakes. And from this ice fishing lake, Canadians come just formed in pads with a hockey stick and skates. And something that most people don't know is the skates they're born with don't fall off until the age of 5.
Yeah, I've heard different stories. I've heard they actually have ice-formed ice skates where they're actual ice, not metal, and they cover them up. So it's kind of like those mermaids with web feet and all that stuff. But I've heard Canadians immediately as soon as they're born, they're given a stick and pads and a helmet and said go.
Oh yeah, no, it's actually a marvelous thing. You can actually go to the ice fishing, places in Saskatchewan, and it's almost like a whale watching tour where you can actually see Canadians being born out of the ice and just skating away for their first hockey games. Bud Scherer goes around as we're making and that's what we get for talking the curse of the commentator. Bud Scherer now needs to skate on, and he's got to catch back up. He's got to tighten his chin strap and get back in the game. Mo Burnett also having an issue, and the North Carolinian Mo Burnett having a crash out of the bus stop with 4 laps to go. And, of course, it's all in good fun. I know Adam Rowe and Bud Scherer, excellent guys. And I tell you what, they really have been going hammer and tongs up until Bud had that spill at a turn number 1, Kurt. And genuinely, that's where we get to the end of the race, where the tires start to wear, the concentration starts to fall off as drivers start thinking about finishing the race rather than going the last 3 laps mistake-free.
Most of these guys are on about 15-lap-old tires, maybe even a little bit more than that. So they're probably used up pretty good, especially the way that these two have been just battling each other, swapping positions over and over, getting loose in the corner together, driving it in deep and then turning it in turn 6. I'm not surprised to see one of them spin around. If not, the other one will probably spin soon, and then they'll be right next to each other again.
Looking back at Tristan Bailey in the number 88 Buddy Baker throwback, he's chasing down his friend Austin Reedy in the 11. Have a listen to this battle for the 5th position. Bailey losing control of the race car almost again, Kurt. The bump nearly came out and bit him, but talk about a glove save from Tristan Bailey. He had that car on a 4-wheel drift, and with 2 laps to go, keeps it from certain destruction. Heads up driving.
Yeah, he's pushing hard. Him and Reedy are both teammates for TJ's team. So I can't say that I would think that Bailey would just give it to Reedy. He's going to race him just as if he was another driver. But they're definitely teammates, and Bailey's probably just trying to get in front of him just so he can say he finished in front of a teammate. TJ's team is a very good team with Gowan, Bailey, Reedy, and a few others in different series. So not a lot of people know that TJ's team was actually on a truck last weekend, the 45. I believe that driver has driven here in PSES a couple times.
Love working with TJ's team. I love the guys from TJ's team. Adam Rowe going off track again. The Canadian who's 5 seconds ahead of Jorge Rincon, now having a bit of an issue gathering himself. Bud Shearer coming into the bus stop himself, sitting in 12th. Adam Rowe sitting in 10th as the white flag is collected by Andrew Wisdom. 2.5 more miles in this incredible drive for him. Austin Reedy sitting in 5th by 1 second over his friend Tristan Bailey, who's gotten loose again and lost that tight advantage. Nick Gowan, 0.6 of a second ahead of Kyle Benson. This fight for second will be epic. Andrew Wisdom now following lap traffic out of turn number 2, trying to stay respectfully behind points leader Jamie Haynes, who's trying to salvage 9th position. Gowan trying to salvage 2nd, up 1 position from where he started. Benson looking to send it in, but will he be safe about it? Into this bus stop, Nick Gowan sitting 8th in the points. Benson nowhere near and needs a good finish. Andrew Wisdom will come through the penultimate corners and collect his checkered flag. Tristan Bailey gets around Austin Reedy. The 11 car's gone around on the final lap. Austin Reedy down to 7th as Andrew Wisdom comes out of the final corner with a 12-second gap. Andrew Wisdom wins at Watkins Glen. Reedy, on the other hand, sitting in 8th after just spinning out of the final corner. Kyle Benson will settle for 3rd. Nick Gowan will collect 2nd. Austin Reedy only half a second behind Nick Pressey. These two gonna battle for the 8th and final position, Kurt.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Reedy lost it there on the last lap like that. I don't think he was around anybody because Bailey had just lost it earlier and given a pretty good gap, but I'm a little shocked that Reedy went around.
Through the carousel for the final time. Nick Pressey ahead of Reedy. 1 spot could be everything in this points battle. Damaged points leader Jamie Haynes looking on from the 9th position. Only 2 seconds behind these two. Austin Reedy gets 1 more shot out of the final corner. Will he get a run on the 94 of Brooklyn's Nick Pressey? He gives it all the gas he's got. Reedy sideways, and Pressey will beat him to the line. 7th, 8th. Points leader Jamie Haynes will come home in 9th. Adam Rowe will collect the 10th position. And there is your race winner. Andrew Wisdom gets the W. Wonderful drive by the 51 driver tonight. An excellent points day as well. We're going to have Andrew Wisdom, Nick Gowan, and Kyle Benson in the booth. Don't go anywhere, fans. We're going to have top 3 interviews in just a few moments. Drew Wisdom, your winner tonight. On the podium now with our top three drivers, starting with the driver of the number 10 Screamin' Sicilian Ford Mustang, Kyle Benson. It looked like you were just holding Nick Gowan on a string, waiting to pounce at any moment. Did you have a shot at second place there?
I'd like to think I did. Just really close racing with me and Gowan all night. He was pretty much my competition at this point because Wisdom just drove away from us because he's just fast. So, uh, I was happy that I can hold with Gowan. He's really fast at road courses, so that kind of put some confidence under my belt.
Great confidence heading into the off week. Kurt, you're with our second place finisher.
Yeah, Nick, it's not surprising to see you up here in the top three. Every race I've done the last several weeks, you've been the guy right here in the top three spot, sometimes in first, sometimes in second, usually following Bailey. You did great tonight. I think it was a hard task with Wisdom in the field, but you and Benson put on one hell of a show down there in second and third. Um, I guess, what could you have done any different to catch Wisdom since he's just that fast?
More practice, honestly. Like, I didn't really practice this much. I've been in a cup car all week, but I haven't practiced the Xfinity car much at all. But Wisdom, there was no catching him. He was on another playing field. So, but battling Benson all race was a lot of fun. I mean, I thought he was going to be able to jump me with the lap fresher tires, but I was able to keep him behind me just enough. Also, a couple well-timed moments with lap cars. I was able to just kind of pin him back a little bit and just keep him at bay and hold on to second place. I mean, I did get like up to a 2 second gap, I think, at one point. I'm not entirely sure what happened with Benson, but he was able to make that back on those last couple of laps. But I was just trying not to make a mistake and still came away second. So happy with that.
Great job, Nick. You're moving through the points. You're up to, I think, eighth or seventh now. Still a lot of races to go in the season, so see if you can catch Haynes or Ruiz. But great job bringing it home second.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great job on that second place finish. And now our winning interview brought to you by di9 Designs. di9 Designs is the Chase Elliott custom graphic design page on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at di9 Designs. They post graphics on all platforms multiple times a week on top of taking requests on all types of logos, Chase Elliott wallpapers, iRacing schemes, and more. Follow and DM them for more details. They are not affiliated with Hendrick Motorsports or Chase Elliott. Be sure to use code DI9 Designs for 20% off your diecast and merch. I'm sorry, that's not right. For free shipping on all orders over $20. There it is. On your diecast and merch at circlebsales.com. That's code DI9 Designs. Hopefully we don't screw up this winning interview. Drew Wisdom, what a drive, man. A winning gap of 11.03 seconds. Was the win ever in doubt?
I felt pretty good once we got going. We had a good start there. I was just glad we didn't get taken out in turn one. Basically just kind of spent that first half of the race trying to build a gap, and then the second half just trying to maintain it and not make any mistakes. It felt good. I felt like we had good pace, but these cars are a lot more on edge than it felt to me than the Cup car and the trucks. So just a little bit of a learning experience. So just glad I didn't let it slip out from under me. But yeah, I felt pretty good.
You have a great advantage headed into the off week. You came into this race 34th in the points standings. It's all good and it's all smiles in the Wisdom camp, Drew. You're going to come back in 2 weeks' time. Are you going to get another win and climb further up the points?
We'll see. We're kind of just racing this series to get some experience and have some fun. I felt like we went to Kentucky a couple weeks ago. I felt like I learned a lot in that race. So hopefully we get some more ovals and bigger tracks where I can learn a little bit more about how these normally drive. But hopefully we can ride that momentum out and maybe pick up a win on the oval side.
With one win this season, Drew Wisdom, you've moved up from 34th into 28th. Congratulations, buddy. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Kurt, thank you so much for coming through, man. What an absolute treat it was. Hopefully, I did your seat a little bit of justice, man, but you'll be back in 2 weeks with the Xfinity series when they return from their break next week. You're on your way to Pennsylvania, buddy. Thanks again for coming through.
Yeah, but no problem. Really appreciate you stepping in, and no better person to fill the seat. Hopefully, I can come back and try to do what you do. You're in that top category of best broadcasters out there. I'm only at the bottom of the bottom feeders. So trying to work towards you guys and get there.
Thank you. It's more about the racing and everybody at PSES. But no, thank you, Kurt. Thank you to everybody at PSES, the good folks over at di9 Designs, and of course you, the fans, whom without none of this would be possible. Drop me a DM on Twitter. Let's talk some racing and let me know how you're doing. Next time on Rick James TV, OG 1987. That's tomorrow night, 9:10 Eastern, right here on Rick James TV 1 on Twitch, Rick James TV on YouTube, and OG Racing on Facebook. Until the next time, everybody, please take care of each other. Stay